Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is another episode of the College Football Hour, which, with the rant coming up, it might be an hour long, but Sean will get mad at me. Look, this is the Herschel Talkers presents the College Football Hour and our resident Buckeye, Angry Scott. I'm Angry Scott, and today I will be angry. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good. How you doing, Scott?
Well, I've had better weekends. You know, we actually played a football team in lieu of those nerds at Georgia Tech. So what were y'all worried about for what, half a quarter or something in that Georgia Tech game?
Not really at all. We kind of knew it was going to. We were just hoping no injuries and see JT Daniels. So
it was really just no injuries.
Well, today I'm going to cover the Ohio State-Michigan game in this segment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the football, but I have a lot of other comments to make. And I will give Michigan their due, which they deserve for the way they played. But I just have a couple other comments about Ohio State's performance. You know, I'm just going to get right into the game. Okay. So, and if you want to put up some stats there from the game, score of the game, 42-27. Look, Michigan's D-line gave us issues all day. For Ohio State, the offense was not the problem. You know, outside of those false start penalties at Michigan, do I think that's different at home? I do think that's different at home. A lot of these players didn't play in this game last year. So, you know, with that the COVID era we were in last year where they didn't really have fans in the stands. So now they're getting to see that first, you know, big environment. I look back at what our wide receivers did. I mean, Ohio State's, they made some ridiculous clutch catches. So I really can't. I mean, I look at the Garrett Wilson touchdown, just some ridiculous clutch catches. And I look at what they did. The wide receivers, Jackson Smith-Njigba, 127 yards, Garrett Wilson, 119 yards, Chris Olave, 88 yards. So that was not our problem. Look, Michigan dominated both their offensive line or defensive line dominated the whole game. They held our running backs in check. Doesn't mean we should have gone away from the run as fast as what we did. But, I mean, they both sides on the Michigan offensive line, defensive line, they totally dominated. Now, at times I went into this game and I said, hey, look, we're going to be fine because we're Ohio State, even though I think, you know, they might have a better team this year. I've got 20 years of evidence where we've been able to come through. When I look at that Michigan game, and Ohio State fans out there, I think you understand, I always have a problem when I say we're the better team and we find a way to lose. When we lost to Clemson in 2019, I knew we were the better team. We lost. And sometimes that happens. And I've been on the other side of that too. Sometimes we haven't been the more talented team we won. But we beat Clemson's ass back in 2020. Great. And then we played Bama in the national championship game last year. Hey, they were the better team. Hey, as much as I hate to admit it, Michigan was the better team on Saturday. And that was very abundantly clear. So, but I look at halftime, it was 14-13 at halftime. Now, they still dominated both sides of the trenches. When I go back and look at that, hey, we get the ball to start the second half and we had a 3-and-out, and that was devastating. And then, you know, usually a lot of those games over the last couple of years have been very close in the first half. And then you get to the second half and we take over and Jim Harbaugh chokes on the chicken bone. Well, not this year. Do I think it helped a lot that game was played in Ann Arbor? Absolutely. Do I think in Columbus that it could be much closer? I think it could be much closer. I think Michigan might still win. But you could get a different result just because I think back when we played Michigan State last week, we won 56-7, which, you know, hey, how the Big Ten works. If you lose a huge game, 56-7, means you're awarded a 10-year, $95 million contract, which apparently is nothing anymore compared to these other contracts that are out there. The one thing that's in common for all these people that have these big contracts, only one of them has won a national title, and that's Jimbo Fisher. And they're all like 10-year contracts. Thing as I said before is their own line dominated the D-line the whole day. Talk about us, we could not stop the run. I think I see some issues on offense that we had that we weren't able to score enough from Ohio State standpoint. But I look at Michigan's defense. Not only were they dominant on defense, but offensively, and they ran the ball down our throats the whole day. You know, when I look back at their quarterback here, Cade McNamara, he only had 159 yards thrown, but they didn't have to because Hassan Haskins had 169 yards running and hit 169 yard rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, we could not stop the run the whole day. Some of my concerns that I had throughout this whole year, they came to fruition against a good team on Saturday. When we played Oregon, I said, okay, well, it's early in the year. Hey, maybe the team will get better. Okay, we look at against Purdue. Purdue's a top 25 team. Oh, look at us just, take over with Michigan State. We look fantastic against Michigan State. I think that was a snowball effect. I think Michigan State's better than a 56-17 because I think they went on this last week and then beat I believe they went on to beat Penn State. I don't know. I was so fucking mad. I didn't watch any of that Penn State, Michigan State game. But when I go to where we are now, some of these other concerns I had about our young secondary, even they didn't have a lot of big pass plays, they had the pass plays when they're needed. And I was very concerned. It's one thing if you don't have the talent. Ohio State has the talent, just like a team like Georgia. They have the talent. Michigan's got talent. But I really do put it on the defensive coordinator. I think they've got to have an overhaul from a defensive standpoint. I think, too, in the past, he's coached those games tight for the last 5 years. If anybody that doesn't know what the record is, Harbaugh's 1-5 against Ohio State. He just got his first win. So this is not something that is new to get him. He's getting his ass kicked, So I think if you went and you shoved a Buckeye up his ass these last 5 years, he gets so fucking tight that you'd have a diamond at the end of it. Well, he played a little bit different. He coached the game a little bit different on Saturday. So, Sean, I'll let you talk here for a second before I just go on a full-on rant about other stuff. But Sean, you commented last week that, hey, did we have our game that we peaked against Michigan State? And I think we might have had that game. Here you go. We had one play over what's the best games of the year. Did we come in as hungry as we needed to? I have no doubt they wanted to win the game. I just think Michigan's players, they wanted to go and win even more. I got Sean texting me on Saturday, hey, you have my condolences. I'm like, Sean, nobody fucking died in our family. My dog didn't die, okay? Maybe my pride died a little bit, and my chance at a national championship gone. But let's keep in mind, this is the first time that Michigan has been playing for a Big Ten title. So, things are definitely – this is the first time in the Jim Harbaugh era. There's only been like a Big Ten championship game, I want to say, for about 10, 11 years. This is the first time they'll play for a Big Ten championship. Guys, before I just go on a foreign rant about everything else, please give me your thoughts on the game.
Yeah. First thing I wanted to add is I just think you guys got to give it to the Haskins kid. Impressive 5 touchdowns, 169. I just felt like you guys couldn't stop the run. And I had the combination of the crowd, which I knew it when I saw like the snow flurries. I don't know if that affected you guys passing, but it could have been, with the elements. And then there was also that rumor. I don't know how true it was. I was getting texts from some friends that CJ Stroud and some of you guys were battling flu-like symptoms. I know Georgia battled that a couple of weeks ago in the Tennessee game. If the flu comment is true, this is the first I've heard of it. Anyway, I did hear that. I heard from one of my buddies texted. So just it had CJ Stroud, and then I saw him on game day. He was warming up, so I'm like, all right, he's playing. But I just think you guys couldn't stop the run, and that like you said, that offensive line just pushed you guys around in the second half and just kind of like started rolling, and you guys couldn't stop it. And then they were just enough ahead. But I was just surprised on the D line.
Well, the thing that's most concerning from my standpoint is the fact that I know we've got the talent. I really do put it on the coaching, and it's not all on the coaching. I put it on. I think Ryan Day's done a great job as a head coach. This is his 3rd year, but it is also his job to then go find the right defensive coordinator. We already had to reassign/fire the defensive coordinator after we lost to Oregon. So now we need to find the right guy. We had the right guy a couple of years ago, Jeff Hadley, and then he went to go take a head coaching position at Boston College. So I understand why guys go and leave, but as you see in the NFL, all the time Bill Belichick, people leave and you still got Bill Belichick. And then you see with Saban, you get assistants that come in, they go through Nick Saban rehabilitation program there in Alabama. They go and get another head coaching job, but you still have Saban. So, Sean, do you have any comments?
Yeah. To me, I think, Scott, we discussed this as well. I think that whenever you're going to have a high-powered, explosive offense, the one thing you're going to at some point need is you're going to need to have, you're still going to need that bully. Whether it's your offensive line or really it's going to come from your defense, where you can make somebody on the other side of the field, think twice about or just basically make them feel each and every drive. And I think that's kind of, what the problem, has been this year. Without question, you guys, again, we said it last week, the talent differential between Ohio State and Michigan is fairly massive. To me, the issue is just that toughness on defense and then toughness on the line. The offensive line, again, I'm not as familiar with the roster, so some of it certainly could be a youth issue, although I think your right tackle's, a junior or senior and is supposed to be, fairly highly a fairly highly rated, draft prospect. But, there still are the 4 other positions. So to me, that's kind of what, some of the difference was. I think if you can get that defensive coordinator, and the sky really is the limit for you guys. But to me, it kind of reminds me of, a Mark Richt situation on steroids, where Mark Richt could get skill position players for days and they would shine. And he had athletes every place else. It's just the development wasn't there. And to your point, so we've got Larry Johnson is the, did the D-line coach. We don't have a guy like Chase Young right now. We've got some young guys, JT, and we've got, I can't say his last name, but it starts with a T. Tamoile or something. I don't know. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Anyways, we've got some young 5-star guys, and then Jack Sawyer's another one, and they had to Haskell Garrett. So the D-line, we've got some studs. I think the secondary is very young, and we got a guy, Denzel Burke, he's either a freshman or a redshirt freshman. So he very well may be, another first round draft pick years from now, but this is his first year. So there's definitely some youth, but we still don't have a guy on defense like a Chase Young that, or like a Jeff Okudah from a couple of years ago that is just your shutdown corner. So I will say this. Here are some of my other comments. This is the first time that Michigan beat Ohio State in 10 years. Okay, but that was a bad Ohio State team. That was a 6-7 Ohio State team the year before Urban came. So this is really the first time that Michigan's beaten a good Ohio State team in 18 years in 2003, year after coming off our national championship. We played in Michigan, and I think it was a 12, 13-point game they won. So the part that I find funny is Harbaugh just running his mouth. We'll see you next year, buddy. Ask Dabo how running your mouth in 2020 worked out, when it turned out in the rematch. So I'm not an SEC guy, and I don't say if another team in the Big Ten wins that I count that as a championship. I don't. And you know what, Georgia fans out there, neither should you. The only championships that you should count as your own, okay? I would have beat Michigan on Saturday. I'm fine leaving the Big Ten out. I never want to be confused for a Tennessee or South Carolina fan. We say, oh, we got another. You got a what? The SEC got another championship, and you got your ass kicked by whoever won that national championship. Okay, so South Carolina, when's the last time you won a national championship? Ever in football? I don't think it's ever. If not, it's got to be like before they had color pictures on TVs. Tennessee, 1988. That's a long time ago. and 15 years have gone by and you haven't done anything. So look, I hope that Michigan doesn't make the playoffs. I hope they lose in the playoffs. I hope that, hey, Harbaugh go and he got paid money like he should go win a national championship. He had to take a pay cut, which is the Big Ten way. The SEC, I'll give you this. They at least say, hey, produce or you're out. And the Big Ten were like, well, let's give him another year. Let's give him another year. Let's give him another year. Hey, Mel Tucker, he might end up being a great coach. This is his second year, and they're scared to death of losing him. Michigan State, boom, 10 years, $95 million. And we'll get into this other contract talks later. But here's my thing with Harbaugh. Michigan fans, if you want to get excited, here is his track record, okay? He still very well could be the next John Cooper, okay? John Cooper brought in a bunch of talent in the 90s to Ohio State. Right. And I think his first year was 87 and his last year was 2000. So he's there for 13 years. His record against Michigan, 2-10-1. OK, let's go ahead and review Harbaugh's record against Ohio State. 1-5 against Ohio State, 3-4 against Michigan State, 4-9 against top 10 opponents. OK, 4-9 against top 10 opponents. So that's 3-13 against some, the top competition. No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my note wrong there. I believe that 4-9 is what happened of this recent. So now he's 4-9 against top 10 opponents. Well, let me ask you guys, as a fan of Georgia, okay? If you had a coach that went, 5-10 against one of their biggest rivalry games, what would you think of that coach?
Yeah, really bad. If you went 5-10 against Florida, probably
you would be Mark Richt. Yeah. Okay. And what happened? Hey, I remember the game in 2007 where everybody ran onto the field and they scored the first touchdown. And you won that game. Congratulations. You lost the next 3, but you won that game. Okay. And Mark Richt, like John Cooper, great guy. But look to the track record. So this is what's coming, Michigan. So don't be surprised if they choke on the chicken bone on Saturday. You have this big emotional win and you lose to Iowa. Iowa's not a world beater. They're not Georgia. They're not Alabama. They might be good enough on Saturday to go and beat Michigan, which leaves the Big Ten out probably.
I think Georgia only had one loss in 2007, right, Sean? Was that the Tennessee game?
They had 2 losses.
Did we? Okay. Well, I think that they said if there was the college football playoffs back then, we would have been in. I felt like we were really dangerous at the end. We blasted that Hawaii team, but I don't know. I know it was a long time ago. But anyway, yeah.
And I'm with you. And I'm with you. But what I'm getting back to is, do you say in one of your biggest rivalry games, Georgia versus Florida, a coach that goes 5-10 in that game that's not successful? Yeah. Okay. So if Harbaugh's still 1-5 against Ohio State, his track record is going to say another loss is coming. He's still 3-4 against Michigan State. So those are the biggest concerns. That's what it was. I'm reading my notes wrong. 1-5 against Ohio State, 3-4 against Michigan State. That's a combined record of 4-9 against Ohio State and Michigan State, your biggest rivals. Still 3-13 against top 10 opponents. So I don't even know if Iowa's a top 10 team right now. Well, guess we'll find out tonight with the college football rankings. But my guess is he's going to choke at the chicken bone, or Georgia fans are rooting for you if he does go and have success in the playoffs. Sure. I'm rooting against him. I'm not rooting for the Big Ten. This whole thing is the rivalry's better when the other team wins. I don't subscribe to that bullshit. The rivalry's the best when you dominate a good Michigan team. Whether they're good or they suck, the rivalry's the best when you dominate them. So go ahead and run your mouth, Michigan fans. Savor the flavor. You're the better team. Yeah. Ohio State's going to have some for you next year in Columbus. Okay? Just understand this. In 2013, Ohio State lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten championship. Okay? We lost what do we do? The next year we come back and win a national championship. Different coach, Urban Meyer. We lose a close game to Clemson. Okay? In 2013, we lost a close game to Clemson in the Orange Bowl. My friend, Clemson grad, goes on this long rant about how far we're away and just not using Kirby Smart language. Oh, you're just not elite. Sorry, man, you just can't win. You need to all this other bullshit. Next year, win the national championship. Even Hopeless Sean has said in 2014 about Ohio State team, it's not your year. Next year is really when you're going to be better. We want to go on and win a national championship. I'm not saying that we're going to go and win the national championship next year. I'm just saying that if Ryan Day, as good of a coach as what I hope he can be, okay, I don't know if he's got his 10-year contract yet. That's worth over $100 million, which I can only assume is coming. And Georgia fans, I got news for you. Kirby Smart got a big contract coming. Yeah. All right. If you want to keep him, he's got a big contract coming, but you should have the talent that does that. I just look back to the 1990s, that Ohio State Michigan game, and I don't take anything for granted. And if you're a Ohio State fan out there and you grew up and you were alive during the 90s, you should not take anything for granted. And that's even college football. Don't take for granted that you're going to just go and continue to, kick everybody's ass. Look at the 2018 Clemson team. They go on to beat Alabama 48-14. Hey, Trevor Lawrence is in his freshman year, and we're going to go and win the next couple national championships. They didn't win another one, and now they're not going to make the playoffs. So I'm not saying Clemson football is dead. I'm just saying they've steadily declined over the last couple of years.
Hey, well, real quick, I did want to ask, so going forward for the bowl game, here's what I think would be a great bowl game if it happens. If we can punch Alabama in the mouth and then you guys play in the Sugar Bowl or wherever projected, I think that would be Ohio State, Alabama would be a great game. What you think?
I think that if Michigan goes on to make the playoffs, then we'll be in the Rose Bowl. Okay. If not, I see, if Iowa wins, they'll be in the Rose Bowl, and then we'll see what happens. We'll still be at a New Year's Six Bowl, but we'll see how that goes. Now, gentlemen, that's all I have. That's as long as my rant goes. Do y'all have anything else to say?
Sean, we do want to ask one last question, Scott, just to take a little dig. Is Ryan Day a genius?
As a head coach, I would say right now he doesn't look like a genius. But as offensively, I will go back to offense was not the problem. Could we have done more? Yes, we could have. But even Lane Kiffin loses games, Mr. Offensive Genius, and even Lincoln Riley with 0 playoff wins, leaves Oklahoma for a better job.
Gotcha. I gotcha. All
right. Well, I guess that concludes this portion of the Herschel podcast. Angry Scott, thank you so much for your candid and professional point of view.
Make sure to rate and subscribe to our channel. Get those Herschel Talker YouTube video or subscribers up.
All right, guys.
All right, Herschel.